I think as some of you may know, I love punishing Grey Raven. So let me gush about their main mechanic for a little bit. For authority's sake, I've been a day 1 player for Global, minus having to restart the alpha patch because I too cannot read. But since then, I've gotten practically all the characters, am honor rank 4, which would be commandant rank 124, I finish Babel whenever it comes around, and just this patch, I finished Norman War fully, and yes, it felt so goddamn good. So, as you can tell, I've played this game a lot. With that playtime under my belt, I thought I would be a decent candidate to talk about their combat system, the pinging/orb system, and why I think it's one of the best in the gacha space. If you don't know, PGR is unique because it's not a typical cooldown skill system. In most games, you're limited to individual character skill cooldowns. This ends up sometimes creating an unenthused gameplay experience. Kuro didn't do that, and instead implemented another genre of game mechanic to work with an action RPG style game. They implemented the Match 3 type puzzle game, which you'll know probably from Candy Crush or Bejeweled or many of the other puzzle type games. PGR gives orbs of 3 colors which represent 3 different skills. Get 3 of the same color and you do max damage, aka 3 pings. This 3 ping idea is something I love. It shows an out-of-the-box attitude towards the game because I haven't seen any other game combine these 2 aspects to make the base of the mechanics. It's even better though, since the 3 pings act as a gateway for the further potential of how you play with each character. You need to meet certain requirements in color of 3 pings, order of 3 pings, and combination of 3 pings and orbs. It establishes the logic, then expands that logic out, allowing uniqueness on a per character basis tied to the 3 orb skills, core passives through the orbs, and finally the ultimate skill, which can also have orb mechanics tied into it. For example, Astral Watanabe needs any 3 ping plus a red orb to use his main mechanic as a dark attacker, while someone like Vera Rosen utilizes her 3 ping to fill up her gauge at the bottom to do these cool dark slashes when holding and tapping the basic attack button. Lee Hyperreal becomes Tarzan with a gun as he uses an orb storing system which comes back to him when he activates his Hyper Matrix, then... Hang on. Hang on. I know I can say this. Lee Hyperreal becomes Tarzan with a gun as he uses an orb storing system which comes back to him when he activates his Hyper Matrix to then Hyperreal all over everyone's face with clones of himself from different timelines doing Hyper PP damage at the end, which is based off of how many 3 pings were used. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. I just can't praise Kuro enough for creating such a unique and streamlined system that allows each character to use their kit, generally speaking. And this is part of the reason why I love this system so much. But the other part of why I adore it is because of how it forces players to think just a bit more. Obviously for most run-of-the-mill content, there's not a lot of thinking since things are easy. But once you start to get into higher tiered content, or when you hit that wall you can't beat, that's when the system shines the brightest. For most players who start, the wall comes in at the memory rescue, which you know when you hit it. At those times, the orb system excels because you're actively thinking about your orbs. I think Bianca Stigmata is a current meta example of how you need to think, but also an example of how Kuro expands the system they created, allowing slightly different ways to interact with your characters on the battlefield, while simultaneously not straying into gimmicky gameplay mechanics. Since I don't want to explain and edit in clips, I'll just let our resident Spider2B give his quick explanation on the potential thought process through his Bianca Stigmata guide.
A very important tip is to always try to utilize the ultimate to cancel out the orb animation, and it's preferred over the dodge cancel since it's honestly better to save the dodge gauge for the force matrix. Moreover, selecting which QTEs to use or save can help min-max weaker or stronger enemy waves in Warzone, so you can get quite creative with the QTE utilization. You'll need to adapt to what orbs to ping based on the top row orbs given and the orbs at your disposal. Do you want to match the matrix ping with the dazzle attack, or matrix ping with another orb for a specific QTE? Do you want to purposely mismatch the matrix ping to line up the top and bottom row 3 orb pings? Just a lot of considerations that you need to just kind of figure out in the moment, but hey, that's kind of what makes it fun.
This way of playing is more engaging than just sort of semi-lucidly using the typical cooldown systems. To also add onto his explanation too, there are other factors you need to consider sometimes too. As it pertains to hard and endgame content, you usually need to think about when to activate your core passive skills for max damage and efficiency, the order of your orbs and the amount of them because you'll need them for later rotations, and which orbs you have since some can be particularly useful for easy parries on bosses and enemies that have it. Sometimes there's a lot of quick glance decisions you need to make for you to get the high result you want, and it's all thanks to this system that they created. Has to also be fully transparent and honest, however, while the system is unique and just straight up cool, it also isn't the deepest end of the gameplay pool. At the end of the day, when you get the hang of everything, it does function similarly to other games which use the skill plus ultimate rotational gameplay. But the praise for me comes in how they arrived at this decision, because it really showcases that every character was made with intention and care. And while I know not everyone likes RNG, to me the orb system introduces just enough RNG and what orbs are created to where it's not a terrible pain point, because most of the heavy lifting is done with how you use the orbs you are given and how you react to situations. For example, if you're playing Norman War, you won't typically need to restart a stage simply because of bad orb RNG. You're gonna need to restart it because you got hit too many times, someone died, or you didn't optimize your damage potential so things didn't die fast enough, etc. Most of the time, it is a you issue, because small decisions that were made throughout that stage add up to a total loss which you can either accept or restart to try again. It's just so fucking good. Just go play this game. It is really well crafted and optimized really well too. Anywho, I just wanted this video to be a total praise fest on PGR because I love the game. And while those who talk about it are those who have seen the high skilled plays, no one has gone out of the way to praise the system which allows for it to happen, and I wanted to do that. So, with all that said, thank you for listening to me and allowing me to take your time. I appreciate you, and be safe out there.